Welcome back to Living in Kigali. Now, before the break, we were talking about all the things that go into the fashion industry and how exactly you need to appreciate culture in order to be able to appreciate the industries that are showcasing this culture that we're speaking of. A lot of fashion brands now have there are many fashion brands, that's what I was trying to say, right? But like, how do you differentiate yourself? And not just from the perspective of a business, because a business needs to know the customers, right? Me as a Rwandan, how do I tell the difference between your brands and other brands? How are you differentiating yourselves?
So to start with my business, actually Kessy has my tote bag right here.
Right.
So
I'm proud.
Yes. So this tote bag is made from cotton. And we also use canvas material, and to portray like the essence of our fashion brand. So for example, this logo, it has two heads which are looking to each other. This means the unity in Rwanda that we've been able to establish since the genocide. So when doing these tote bags, we didn't something that shouts Rwanda, like the typical imigongo, which is everywhere, and also promoting the eco-friendly.
Right. That's interesting. What about you, Kessy? What are you doing to differentiate your brand from other brands?
All right. What we're doing to differentiate ourselves from other brands is to add a certain cultural preservance on every cloth that we do, so that whatever it's carried, it has a mark of Rwanda to it. But also, per our name Ikamba, which stands for a crown, is we try to add a royalty to every piece that we put, which is this craft that we add that used to be added to the king's palace back in the day in Rwanda, in his palace to beautify his palace, and so we also use it to beautify the clothes of our clans to be able to make them feel like they're royalty. And that,
Right. Taking it back a little bit, this is still Living in Kigali.
Yes.
I would really want to know what you would think the customer, right? Taking it back to my perspective, like what are some of the ways in which we can try to embody like the Rwandan culture in our clothes and in our lifestyles within the choices that we make in purchases and everything? Like, what should we do to support these industries?
I think the first thing that we should do is to learn about the culture, because I think it's hard to support something that we don't have enough knowledge about. Like, what is imigongo? What is that used for before? What are these crafts? What are uduseti? What were those things used for in the beginning? And then when you understand the meaning of all these different things in the culture, it's easier for you to relate to it when you want to even wear it, or you want to use it as part of like a decoration and all that, because the meaning gives it value, and then that relates to you as a person. To also have
That's
that
beautiful.
in your fashion.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
We're talking about fashion when we're starting the conversation, and now we're slowly going into what it's like to live in Kigali, right? To do business in Kigali. And both of you are surprisingly both in fashion, both in eco-friendly fashion, in impactful fashion, social entrepreneurs as well, both women. What would you do differently if you weren't the you are today? Like, what industry would you go into if it wasn't for fashion and whatnot?
I think I personally would go in the food industry. I don't know if that's like a specific industry calling it like that, but I think I have the passion for food and the way it's presented and the uniqueness that comes with that, and making a certain like food really famous, but also having the opportunity and the right to just mix things the way you want and create a whole new thing. You know, I love the fact that, you know, pizzas were created, and it's like a whole new concept for a person who decided to be like, let's just mix all these things. And so if it's not fashion, then I think I would go in the food industry and start creating new food. And today we're just probably eating foods that are designed by us in a new other way.
So culinary arts, I think we talked about this before. You're very interested in culinary arts, and I would tie it back to your brand, because your brand is it's very obviously Rwandan. In the visuals and everything. Are you trying to create like a new type of food for the culture, or are you trying to highlight certain foods already existing in Rwanda and then
I think I would still use the food, but makes it in a way that's not really known, because like a burger is just bread and all these
Add a
different
little
things,
spice.
but then coming together creates a really great thing. So I think I'll still use the food here, but to create something that's now consistent and really
that
cool.
makes sense. What about you, Gloria?
So definitely not food.
Right.
You really have to be so observant when it comes to food. So I think I'll actually go for tourism, because I'm a travel person, and I feel like there is so much here in Rwanda that has to be showcased that isn't being showcased. Example, like let's say people from our local communities who don't get to go places because they feel like they've seen everything, but I think that's actually
or that there's nothing to see.
Yes.
Right.
So, and also make sure that like these places which needs to be explored are also like it's affordable for us to access them.
Right. You're very aligned with the government, I must say. Right. So like with the fashion industry, it's a big industry in Rwanda, and then also food, but like tourism, that's where it's at. I mean, visit Rwanda.
Yes.
Power to the people. Right. It was a pleasure having you all here, and thank you so much for sharing your stories and what it's like for you to live in Kigali. I hope we can have you back in another show another time, but for now, if there's like something, like a last thing to say, what would you say to the people, like especially someone who wants to either move here or embrace their culture, especially, what would you say to them?
On both of that, I think I'd say to the person, Kigali is it's a great city to take risks. It's a city to try new things, and it's okay for you to try something without having everything that you need at the time. It's okay to start with a little amount of money and with a little amount of support, because that comes in with time in this space. And with the diversity in Kigali, I also advise that people learn about what they like and what makes them different and their own cultures, because Kigali is also embracive of other cultures to also impact the community as a whole.
Wow, that's beautiful.
It's always good to embrace change. Come here, learn and unlearn, take risks, and just explore. There's so much here to listen.
Right.
Yes, thank you.
That's beautiful. Okay, it was great having you all here. Thank you so much for coming through. And that's a wrap.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Right, that's a wrap. We're talking all about culture and fashion and how it is like to live in Kigali. Now, in this conversation, we learned one thing that I hope that you can take home. Learn about your culture, try to explore your Kigali, try to explore your Rwanda in any way that you can, whether it's through road trips, whether it's through exploring new restaurants, anything. Try to be a Kigalian, live in Kigali, really live it, don't just exist. So again, that's a wrap on this conversation. This was Living in Kigali. My name is Murungi Sarah. See you next time.
Sorry.
Right, okay, so what would you tell, okay, let me just say this.